Hi, my name is Jessica Duke, and I chose fishing for my cross-gender hobby project. Fishing is the sport or pastime of attempting to catch fish with hook and line. Anyone who fishes for sport is called an angler, fisherman, sport fisherman, or Isaac Walton. My brothers and their friends have been instructing me for the past 6 weeks. They have taught me about bass fishing, mainly largemouth bass, because that's what they normally fish for. Here's a little history on fishing. Fishing was predominantly for the male gender because it originated as a means of providing food for survival. Traditionally, women and children would gather and men would hunt. While women's participation in fishing consisted of gathering small fish from tide pools, weaving nets, and cooking the fish, men used larger nets or lines for fin fish and spears to take larger turtles and mammals. Women do not have the strength of men, and without the advanced equipment we see in fishing today, I assume they wouldn't have been able to reel in a fish on their own. The act of women fishing today hasn't changed too much. Within the past 200 years, women have started fishing more, but they still do not participate in fishing as much as men do. It was not until well after the First World War that women became a familiar sight on the stream. This is apparent by watching shows such as The Deadliest Catch on Discovery Channel, which you hardly ever find women. Women do participate in fishing as a sport or competition, but they are still greatly outnumbered by men. My theory of why there hasn't been much change in the history of women fishing is that fishing is a slow sport. It takes all day and you may only catch a few fish or perhaps none at all. In my opinion, women don't relax. They wouldn't want to waste a whole day where they might not even bring a fish home. Instead, they would rather spend their day getting things done, like running errands, doing chores, and taking care of the children. Also, according to both Gaines and Gaps, when women were fighting for their right to leisure, they were fighting for activities like horseback riding, swimming, ice skating, roller skating, bike and sleigh or carriage riding. That is, any activity that emphasized beauty. Fishing is not a very appealing sport, so that is probably why they didn't partake in it. Fishing fits traditional ideals of leisure for men because it is seen as a competition. Who can catch the biggest or most fish? This sport proves to need strength and wisdom, and depending on the type of fishing, deep sea fishing for example, it can be dangerous, which often looks impressive to women. Men take pride in catching fish, which is apparent by seeing their ritual posing and taking pictures with the fish they catch. Men might also feel like they are providing for their family by bringing a fish home to eat. My experience with this cross-gendered activity is that it does relate to class material because the material is all about why men and women have done different things in the past and now. Previously, it was because of strength and danger issues. Men would do the dangerous jobs, they had the strength to do them, and they wanted to protect the women and children. Then it was because men were allowed to do more than women. According to both Gaines and Gaps, women generally had inferior status in the patriarchal society and had expectations and restrictions placed upon them which further and most adversely affected their leisure. Today, I believe men and women do different things simply because they like different things. Even though I find fishing boring and slow, I realize it might be a way for a man to wind down, just like the author of Excuse Me While I Explode realized about Paul's love for his music. I have not participated in this sport before because it has never really occurred for me to do so. Although I was invited a few times to go deep sea fishing with my dad and brothers when I was a child, I always refused. Mostly because I got seasick, but also because I thought it was a guy thing and boring. I'd rather have a day with my mom to myself. Fishing was pretty challenging for me, physically and emotionally. Physically because it made me feel weak as I was reeling in my first fish. I thought it was huge and because it was so hard to reel in, but as it turned out it was tiny and I felt pretty stupid. Emotionally because I had more emotions than I had expected. First I was intrigued, it was a new activity and I wanted to learn how to tie knots and cast my line and reel in fish. Then I felt anxiety as I waited for a fish to take my beat. I was afraid the fish would be too strong and I would lose my pull. Then boredom set in about after 20 minutes of waiting, and finally some excitement when I got my first bite. Lastly, I felt remorse when I reeled it in because I felt like I was torturing the fish or suffocating it. I wanted to throw it back in the water as soon as I got it. I definitely gained some insight on male and female leisure choices. Women tend to have more empathy and compassion than men. Men see no harm in killing or hurting an innocent creature just for fun. Their lack of empathy and compassion probably relate to why they choose violent activities to enjoy, like hunting and violent video games. I don't think I will ever really participate in fishing again unless it's for survival. I don't understand why you would fish just to throw the fish back in the water. The sport is too slow-paced for me to just enjoy. Overall, I think it was a good experience. It was interesting to spend a few weeks in a man's shoes, so to speak. But I enjoy my feminine activities much more than fishing. Perhaps I will try other male leisure sports and activities in my future, like going to shooting ranges or playing golf. But it will have to be something that doesn't involve hurting animals.